This is The Backstory with Omobola Stephen. It's a balanced, objective, unbiased and disruptive conversation on government and politics. We shine more light on what has not worked and what would make it work. And now, to the finest, personable and engaging host extraordinaire, Omobola Stephen. Tune in.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Good to have you on The Backstory with Omobola Stephen. On The Backstory, we focus on government and politics with the occasion of expert and professionals who are added in these topics. Now, on The Backstory with Omobola Stephen, we like to shine more light on what has not worked and what will make it work. Today, I have Patricia, DeGennaro, who's an international security expert and also a commentator. Welcome, Patricia, with me on The Backstory.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me on the show. Patricia, now you will be sharing your thoughts on the role of foreign policy in addressing all the salient and controversial issues that is facing the United States of America and the world in general. So I'm looking forward to a great time with you on the show going forward.
Excellent.
Sure. I'd like us to begin with the information environment. Patricia, how does information technology, how does it threaten the national security?
Well, it's threatening national security now because there are so many ways to produce false information and to distribute that false information very rapidly. So what we're seeing out there is people can pretty much say whatever they want. AI has helped people to be able to clone your voice, make it look like you in a picture, put false pictures together with false information. I mean, most recently we saw an example of a fire that was supposed to be at the Pentagon, and it was a completely false Twitter feed. And so it's really difficult for people to understand what's really going on. And these information blasts really hit emotions within people. And so instead of thinking, taking a deep breath and sitting back and thinking, is this true? Is this not true? Maybe I should be asking more questions. People get very riled up and their emotions take over. And so they start, just hearing the same things over and over again. And it really inhibits us from being able to think, being able to understand situations and really verify them if we're going to be reactionary about what we hear in information environments. It's a very dangerous precedent.
Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely true. Now, still talking about the information environment, how can we protect it? Now, do you think, or what's some of the steps that we need to start taking right from now?
I think the first step that we all need to start taking, and myself included, sometimes I start reading Instagram or something and I get very depressed because I'm like, is everybody talking about this horrible thing, or is everybody, but what I have to realize is that it's an algorithm, so it's giving me feed of whatever that algorithm thinks that I might be interested in. So I am getting the same message over and over again. So I have to sit back again and think and take a deep breath. I mean, I really think people need to start shutting off social media and using it specifically to stay in touch, and not use it for information or stories are out there. In addition to that, take a deep breath when you see the story and ask yourself, is this true? Is this real? And the first step in that is read the story instead of just getting emotional and retweeting it. A lot of times they are false. And then the last part of that is look into the issue deeper. before you decide to be reactionary or emotional about something that probably touches you, you have to think and say, let me ask some extra questions about this and let me think about this a bit deeper, because stories are not just headlines. There's a lot of issues within those stories. There's often various sides to those stories. So we have to understand where things are coming from instead of being purely reactionary about what we're seeing on a lot of these, these massive amounts of information that we're getting at such a quick pace.
Oh, really? So what do you think that we need to do to AI? Is a big issue, don't you think so?
Well, I think we need to remember what AI is for. And again, this is about thinking, right? Not being emotional and not, and I always say, you can trick people, but when they find out you're manipulating them and you're lying to them, they're no longer going to trust anything that comes from you. So, I mean, a really good use of AI is aggregating a lot of information at the same time, being able to sift through it and see what kinds of things you can find more quickly than you possibly could with just all of this information and media and everything coming at you. So these are good ways to use the AI. Also through, keeping track of your own health, keeping track of, the things that you want to do in your life. It can help you sort a lot of those things out. And I think those are important gifts that AI can give us, helping us diagnose something in our health that we might not see for a much longer time. But we do have to be careful because it's not the answer to everything. It's not going to take the place of humans because humans need to think. AI thinks the way we tell AI to think. It's something that we need to remember, that we are in control of our brains and our emotions, and we are in charge of that AI, and how we want to use it in a more positive way is what's important.
All right. Now, our main focus is the role of foreign policy in addressing controversial issues. Now, I'd like us to talk about the violent extremism and radicalization programs. Do you think they're a bad policy, or what then do you think we should start doing now?
I think that the most important thing, and when you're talking about violent extremism, is that you have to listen to the grievances and get to the root cause of why people are becoming extreme. And I think that often we don't listen. People want to be heard. They want you to understand why they're hurting. And often those grievances are very legitimate. So this is the first thing. And I think that in a world where the population is increasing and visuals are increasing, you can see the difference in your lifestyle versus someone else. You're also being told things that you don't necessarily understand, that people or a country or someone else might be doing things to you. And so again, you have to be in charge of yourself. You have to look further and understand what's happening. And I think as powerful nations, we often don't think about populations and how they feel when we're intervening in a lot of ways. And so those policies need to be relooked at, they need to be rechecked. And when you're often seen to be bringing violence, people will return often with violence. So we have to think about how we're behaving with other nations, with other people, and with other populations, and understand their histories and why they feel this way. And we have to remember that we're all living on this earth together, and if we don't figure that out, we could really all be in for a very bad future.
Thank you, Patricia, for that insight. For the American people, the death penalty or capital punishment, it doesn't really reflect the national values. The question is, why is Joe Biden's administration, why are they still pursuing it?
It's really interesting. I think there is a lot of things going on in this country, and this is not one of the things that we've been talking about quite a bit. It seems like the political discourse has been so dumbed down to really basic, again, emotional feelings of how a person feels about other groups of people that are different than they are. And so we're having very divisive dialogues in this country, and I think it's prohibiting us to move forward in a lot of ways. It's actually pushing us backward. It's sometimes I feel like what we have stood for in democracy and equality and justice as a nation in the past has kind of all gone out the door, and maybe it really was never there. So I think we need to start asking ourselves those questions. And capital punishment is a very good, actually topic to think about here. What are we doing to move forward to make people's lives better? And when we're so quick to take someone else's life instead of understanding how to rehabilitate or to give people opportunity instead of just throwing them away, I think these are really important issues that we need to talk about. Again, things are broader than black and white. And, this often comes down to a black and white issue. Should we let someone survive or not? And I mean, for a country who's thinks a lot and talks a lot about Christianity, you don't kill people. You figure out, how to help them. So, and this is most progressive nations and most nations that have progressed to a certain point understand the brutality of taking someone's life. And so we really need to rethink a lot of these issues and understand humanity at a greater level than we are currently understanding here, especially at this time.
Patricia, now the international influence on the death penalty in the US, do you think that the influence is growing?
The influence is working?
Growing?
Is growing. The international influence, I think we're much like other countries. We really don't listen to external influence. We make our own decisions, and the leadership we have right now is very white male conservative, and these men are making the decisions and the policy. And our policy right now is focused or allowing states to make these decisions instead of the nation as a whole. And I think that sometimes we need to think more at a federal level, at a national level, instead of looking at it, this is just allowing someone else to take to make a very serious issue political in order for them to gain an office or win some votes.
Right. Thank you once again, Patricia DeGennaro, for your insight. Moving on, I'd like us to talk about the modern civil rights movement and the Biden's administration, and in terms of protecting immigrants and their families. Do you have any insight?
Well, this country was built on somebody else coming into it, right? And I mean, the people who lived here really didn't have much say in that. And I think we are seeing right now a lot of pushback in understanding our own history. And I believe we have to own our own history. We have to understand how this nation grew. And it grew on the back of the genocide, basically, and a people who are still being marginalized in this nation. And I think that we have to understand that all of us who probably, not all of us, but a majority of us that are here have come from somewhere else. We were always a land of opportunity. We didn't look at the Statue of Liberty for nothing. It was a welcoming figure that we were bequeathed because we were a nation that welcomed people from all over the world. Unfortunately, I think a majority of people are fearful. They're fearful of the people that are different than them, that speak maybe a different language, have a different type of skin color. And instead of being fearful, I think we have to be embracing and welcoming of difference and what that difference brings to our society as a whole and how we can value it. Difference is beautiful. And the more we fear it, the more I think we're going to be segregated, divisive, and misunderstanding of other people that probably have the same wants, needs, and desires that we do to live and be able to raise families, make a good living, and get educated so we can make better lives for each other. It's not a win or a win-lose. It's a win-win for everyone. And we have to understand and think about the value that people add to our lives, not anything or things that they presumably are taking away, and they really aren't. They're really adding value.
Patricia, I'd like us to talk about the women issues, you and I, and the women out there. Now, we talk about the exclusivity that the woman out there is being confronted with, especially in the society and the organization. She found herself struggling to break the ceiling. I'd like us to talk about that, and also the questions, and two-in-one question is to talk about the role of women supporting each other. I think that's also a crucial topic that we need to start discussing when it comes to women.
Right. Again, it's, it seems to me that we're going backwards a lot. We're having legislation now and discussions about women's health care. And I really don't think that anyone has the right to invade or, this is a private issue. Whether you agree with it or not, it's still a private issue, and you need to understand what's important and what you need to do with your life. It's no one else's area. But I saw something really interesting today. Robert Downey Jr., who is an actor in the upcoming movie Oppenheimer, said that he believes women should rule the world. And I think that what he thinks is that, we're more emotionally in touch, we understand things, we have to know how to do a lot of things. We have a lot of skills in management, financial, skills. We have all of these abilities, plus the ability to procreate or not. So I think these are important issues. And it's just, again, it goes back to valuing, right? So you value someone different than yourself. You value why, a woman or a man is important in society. These are values that we need to understand and embrace. And discriminatory actions towards women are disqualifying half of your population and half of what that population can contribute to your society. And it's just a very basic civil right that you are given equality. And our Constitution says it, equal, everyone's equal and able to, to strive for the best in their life. And I think that we need to get back to remembering that, understanding that, and understanding how much is provided by both genders or all genders in society. And so it's, everybody wants to say it's not about sex, but then they make it about sex. And just because I'm a woman doesn't make me any different. In fact, it adds value and thinking and understanding and digging deeper in how people can get along and life can become better for society and each other as a whole.
All right, Patricia, do you think that, let me put it this way. Health is important to the U.S. foreign policy. Am I right? I'm sure that I am. Now, do you think that the U.S. government is taking care of this human right?
Yeah, they are. Well, I do think they are. I really do. I think people are starting to legislate in society in ways that they shouldn't be. I mean, we have standards of education, and all of a sudden school boards are deciding to change them based on an activist group of women, no doubt, women, an activist group of women who are going around asking, the education and then schools and universities to stop teaching certain things or taking books off of shelves. I mean, this is just, it's unreal to me that a society who purports to be free is saying that it's okay for a small group of people to be able to dictate what should or should not be taught in the school, and I think that it's also overstepping parents' rights, and parents can take their own rights in these cases. Also, it was the former Soviet Union, I believe, who decided whether or not women could, have children or not, and they were encouraged to do so. So they were always in the healthcare of other people. I don't think any politician should be dipping their hands in my healthcare and how I take care, whether I see a doctor or don't see a doctor, and what kind of medications that I'm allowed to have access to or not. They're not physicians. They shouldn't be making those decisions. I should be making them, and my decisions for education with educational experts and teachers and professors that I'm studying with, not with a politician who got elected into office. And this holds true for most daily life. And when they start getting into these types of issues, they are trampling on civil rights that this nation and many others have fought for protecting over a very long time, and continue. Obviously we have to continue to do so.
Patricia, do you have any projects you'd like to share in the pipeline?
Right now, well, I think what I would really like to share, I think, is that Americans need to start understanding that the world is really, it's time for engagement. There are nations out there that are really striving to figure out how to work together on a more win-win situation, and they're engaging each other in other ways than violence. And I think most recently, we just saw a dente between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which is very, very important, meaning that they're very tired of the violence in that region. And the Saudis have now taken the initiative with the leadership of China, of all places, to move forward diplomatically and find ways for stability in the region. And I would really love to see Americans get on that bandwagon and look less at military force and more at diplomatic and economic positives that they can share in the world and make lives better for people, instead of continuing a vast support of the military might that we have in this country.
Right. Thank you once again, Patricia DeGennaro, for sharing your thoughts on today's show. Now, talking about the role of foreign policy in addressing salient controversial issues that is facing America today and also the world. Great having you on the show. Can you share your social media and do so on your website?
PatriciaDeGennaro.com, and I'm on Twitter at Tricia's Take. It's TRICIA with a little underline take, so you can follow me there as well.
Sure,
same on Instagram. All right, thank you.
Right. Thank you once again. I really had the word to our time. I wish you the best of luck in your projects and also the assignments that you have. All right. Now, if you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the Backstory with Omobola Stephen, you can do so on any cross-promotion platforms or distribution platforms we bump into. And do have a great time. Listen to professionals share their thoughts on the government and politics and other subtopics like the environment, science, and technology. You can also reach me at omobolastephen.com if you'd like to get to know what I do and what I've been up to till I come your way. I need you to stay safe and be the right action.